I mean, what happened yesterday was a blessing. I mean, God really answered their prayers for George Floyd, because
Mm-hmm.
if not for that young lady, the 17-year-old, although
Yeah.
I thought that was a divine intervention, because
Yeah.
Walter Scott also, there was a video, and I don't know what kind of threat he posted to that police officer, running away from him, not towards him, and he gets shot 4 times in his back.
Wow.
So, but in Montgomery County, it's getting too rampant.
Yeah.
Since
Yeah.
I left, 3 people already get shot. And, it's just that I strongly believe what really happened yesterday was a God's intervention.
Mm-hmm.
Because, my son's case also, we had a video, but unfortunately, that video belongs to Montgomery County.
Miss
Oh,
Comfort, Miss Comfort, I want you to finish telling your story, and I'm very glad that you're able to. Where did she go? She went to my right. Someone left. Marilyn, where did you go? Um, don't disappear on me. When the screen
oh
goes,
no, 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 no.
it's
No.
all wacky.
We can have just one mother, because I don't wish this on any the worst of my enemies.
But
You can just help one mother not to go this pain that we mothers have to go through. That you're knowing fully well your son get murdered just because of the color of their skin. You never get over it.
But Miss
It's
Comfort,
very weird.
I just got to kick off the show and get rid of some
Okay,
bills and stuff like that.
okay.
So thank you everyone for coming on. You be the judge. My name is Dr. Paul Dyer. My co-hosts are Marylin, Pierre, attorney at law, and Judge Claudia Barber. We come here every Wednesday at 6 p.m. to talk about legal issues that we have come across, to legal understanding, and to your emotional understanding. There's been recent events that has happened. We do have a mother on the line that's lost her son. She will be giving her testimony and what's going on in that case. And there's a lot of times where I know people have called on the show that wants to show their video and hear the cases. We will get to them. We just can't get to everyone's case in one show. It's only an hour show. So please be respectful. If you're not talking, please turn off your mic. I am very honored for everyone to come on the show and to be participants and to hear you be the judge. Before we bring on Miss Comfort, Marilyn, you want to say anything, please? There you go, Marilyn.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I'm so happy to have everyone here, and I'm sad about the discussion that we're going to have because it's really, really sad. And I'm a bit distracted because the guest that we were planning on having, Miss Cooper, Kwamena Okren's mother, she is not here yet. And I laid my phone down somewhere and I can't find it. So and she said that she was only available from 6 to 6:30. So I thought we could talk to her from 6 to 6:30. And then since Comfort is here, Miss Aludipe is here. We could then speak to her after that. So if you could give me a moment while I look for my phone.
Okay.
I have no idea where I put it. Oh, it was in the drawer. Found it. Okay, so I could text her while you're talking. Then
All
you
right.
have not introduced Judge Barber yet. So.
And then we have our distinguished judge, Judge Claudia Barbara. Thank you for being part of our show. I just love being co-host around some incredible women as Marilyn and yourself. I know we had whatever we had yesterday, and I said this yesterday on a previous show. But what are your thoughts, Judge Barber, about yesterday's verdict and the outcome, and your feelings about it?
Well, I thought it was a very important, significant, powerful verdict. I thought that jury, first of all, I believe that the prosecution did an excellent job of presenting their case. They did an outstanding job. It was collective. You could see the unity there. But the most powerful thing is that they brought forth credible witnesses. You had, first of all, the police chief testifying that this is not what we do, you know, which again made it a tougher burden for the defense. And you know, at many times during the defense's case, I really thought he was defending the indefensible, and I just
It
thought,
seemed that way, didn't it?
I just said, you know, you're just trying to call a cat a dog. You're just trying to call wrong right. Just stop it. It's just getting ridiculous. You know, I just kind of felt that the proceeding it was carefully and meticulously from jury selection on down to presentation of the case. Things went well, but it was a godsend decision. It was a decision that that to me the facts were compelling. Now, see, this outcome should have been the same in the Emmett Till case,
Right.
and so many, you know. But don't just stare justice in the face and sit there and try to do a Rodney King verdict. That's, no. You know, so, you know, to me, the jury appeared to be intelligent and also aware of their job. But I believe that with all three guilty verdicts, they looked at the evidence. They looked at the compelling evidence that no, you could not convince them that this was anything other than asphyxiation and murder. It was an intent, and the part that made it intentional, which made the intentional charges stick, is the fact that George Floyd said, "I can't breathe."
Right.
How much more clearer are you going to be in describing that you need to get off of me?
Now, I know we have some attorneys on the line, and I met a new attorney today for Baltimore City. I know she's going over police reform. Ganesha Martin's on the line. But what I want to ask is that could we have convicted him without the video? What do you think, lawyers in the room?
That would have been extremely hard because even with the video, you see what a yeoman's job it took to convict him. And this is the first time that they said in Minnesota that a white police officer has ever been convicted of killing a black person. I don't know if you remember the case way back when someone called the police on a neighbor, and then the person who called the police walked up to the police car and he was shot. That was a black police. I'm sorry, she was shot. That was a black police officer who killed the neighbor who called, and that police officer was convicted of something. I don't think it was murder. He was convicted of something. So that was the first time, but this is only the second time that has happened. So yeah, I thought the prosecutor did a great job. Oh my gosh, I thought they were excellent. And it's that type of excellence that we need to see for. And I like to go back on this case because don't forget that the prosecutor in the county that this happened in was not going to prosecute the case. That's why the case was removed from him to Keith Ellison, the Attorney General.
Right.
And we have to remember that because had it been that prosecutor, I think his words were, "I don't think that that Officer Chauvin did anything that he could prosecute him for."
And also, Marylin, they had originally put out that this was a drug issue. That they had put this out that this was like a drug bust.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's true. But
They say about controlling the narrative. See?
yes, that's true. That's true. Oh, and I'm just so sorry. If we could table this discussion because we have Miss Cooper on the line and she is she's trying to do a couple of meetings at once. So if we could get to her, then we could let her go and we could continue our discussion if that's okay with everyone.
absolutely, go ahead.
Okay, Miss Cooper, you are, well, let me, if I could introduce you just a little bit. We have on the phone where it says iPhone Neo Cheer. I don't know how to pronounce that, sorry. We have Miss Melody Cooper. Miss Cooper is Kwamena Okren's mother. Kwamena is a young man who was killed by 4 undercover Gaithersburg police officers in January. And Miss Cooper is here because she is trying to get justice for Kwamena. So Miss Cooper, you are on.
Well, first, I would like to say thank God that doors are continuing to open to expose the execution of my son by 4 Gaithersburg police officers on January 8th at 5:53 p.m. Basically, I believe my son was just murdered by or as a hate crime because there would be no reason for 4 officers to shoot my son in the back a few times and then kick him over and stand over top of his lifeless body and continue to shoot into his groin area. So I believe it was a hate crime committed on my child. Also, the fact that it occurred 2 days after the insurrection. And then the fact that they didn't call me until 9 p.m. Also, another fact that he laid on the ground for 7.5 hours, and then as well as I wasn't allowed to come to town. Well, I came to town, but I was trying to be discouraged from coming to town. But I was not allowed to identify him, and when I asked why, they stated was that the police was already familiar with him. So I stated that I thought it was my rights to be able to identify my own child. So she said, no, not in this case. When I called the medical examiner's office that Monday on the 11th, they stated that I couldn't get a autopsy until maybe 5 or 6 years from now. And I asked the lady, are you sure you meant to say months? She says, no, years. And I asked, why? Would it be because it's police involved shooting? And she said, yes. But those officers actually targeted my son to make them, I guess, their mark of the day while performing a hate crime against him. And Montgomery County did everything they could to hide it. There's no reason why he laid on the ground for 7.5 hours. There's no reason why they power washed the area while he was laying on the ground, because I see that as tampering with evidence, and I think that's an additional charge. They should face a federal charge of tampering with evidence. There's no reason why that the process for my son's murder is taking. Well, I know the reason is because they're trying to hide all the crimes they committed when they committed the crime and chose him to make their mark. So therefore, I would like for the chief of police to be dismissed if he doesn't choose to resign, because as a citizen, if I murdered someone and my sister knew of it but didn't say anything, but she knew all the details, I believe she would be charged as an accessory. So if the chief of police is hiding killer cops, then he should be charged as one himself. And then I have a son that put on Instagram that you guys murdered my little brother, and what, you thought he was going to wind up missing and nobody would notice? And since you didn't give my little brother his day in court, how about you guys take his place? So I'm in total agreement with that. And then they have been trying to keep a hush-hush in the media. And I don't know why, because it's a police. Oh, yes, I do. It's because out of all the police killings, other than maybe perhaps way back when the Ku Klux Klans were wearing their sheets and they were, excuse my French, judges and lawyers and police, but wore the sheets so nobody knew it was their doctor out there killing Black people. But anyway, the story I'm trying to get to is My son's murder was much more heinous than the last few we've seen on the TV within the last year or so. Because why would 4 officers shoot over 30-something bullets at one person that's running away from them and not causing a threat to them or anyone else?
Well, not only that, but they waited for hours for him to come out.
Yes,
And-
there was one that waited in a car that I have witness statement saying that when the 3 chased, he was never across 355. That's the media lie. They was said by the police that he was crossed 355 on a Friday afternoon, and there's no way in the world that one black child, young man, and 3 Caucasian men would run across 355, 5:50 in the afternoon, and no one got hit by a car. The witnesses say that it started at the top of the complex. He had just they sent someone to knock on the door and lure him out, ask him to go to the store. And then there was a man out there that I questioned when I got to town. He said he was at the top of the complex when he seen my son walking, and next he noticed my son turned around and see three men. And I asked him, well, what race were they? He said white. I said, okay. The 3 white men, and I don't call them men, I call them coyotes, they chased my son to the back of the complex, in which there was a individual. I can't call him a man because he's just a male. He doesn't fit the description of a man. Was sitting in his car, and the witness says that him and other residents thought that the man may have been visiting someone because he was in that car for 5 hours. So that's all more proof that they lured my son out, because the lady that the house where he lived, his girlfriend's mother, told me that 5 to 7 minutes of him being outside, they heard so many shots, they thought it was a machine gun. That individual that sat at the back of the complex, the gentleman stated, once my son ran and cut the building, it's his words, cut the building, that's when that individual jumped out of his vehicle and ran, and all you heard was bullets. Even per the police officer's mouth, she stated that the first bullets went into his back and the other bullets went into his front, whereas though she didn't know had already seen my child, because even though they tried so hard for me not to see him that way, when she stated I would have to wait till the coroner has his body, the funeral director, so have you. But my son was Muslim, and when I called to make arrangements, those individuals, once I started speaking, because I sound the same over the phone, they said, Ma? And I said, is this FD? He said, yes. He said, oh no, I was praying that this wasn't our crime. So I told them the story. They let us come in. We actually have pictures of all the wounds, because Muslims don't do embalming and things like that. So I see my son in his full essence of what they did to him, front and back. Well, no, my other son looked and took pictures of the back. I didn't want to disrespect my son by looking at the back of him, because if he was alive, I wouldn't have been looking at the back of him, maybe his back, but nothing else. That's to say that these are so many bullets that went into his body from the front and the back. So yes, I believe that all of those officers, especially the 2 that stood over top of him and laughed after they stood over top of him and shot into his lifeless body and left the scene of the crime. So there's another crime. They left the scene of the crime. I'm sure they know that part of the law.
Miss Comfort, I'm not even gonna tell you how sad I am that you lost your son to this incident. I mean, my heart is just. But my question is, what has your son been charged? Was there anything they have told you through the courts or through legal channels about what happened?
Yes.
No,
If
I'm
you
telling
don't
you what
mind,
happened.
first of all, Miss Cooper, I'm so sorry for your loss. And I feel your
Sorry.
pain.
So-
Hello?
Sorry. I know that Dr. Dyer mentioned your name, but he actually meant
Oh,
Miss Cooper.
I'm sorry,
Oh,
Miss Cooper.
And
Sorry.
so, but
Oh.
you will, yeah, we'll get to you
Oh,
later.
I thought I had
So sorry about
comfort.
that.
I apologize, Miss Cooper. What did they say they charged your son with?
With their feet and guns, meaning that there was no charge against my child. My child told me on Tuesday the police were trying to murder him. On Wednesday, my child said that there's undercover cars following him. My son just got released from prison 3 months prior to that incident. And I told him, stay out of Gaithersburg, stay out of Germantown. You know those police don't like you. When he was arrested, they beat him and broke his ribs. He was in the bullpen to, you know how you go up for your arraignment or whatever when you first get arrested? They had to take him to the hospital because he had internal bleeding and broken ribs as a result of those police. My son didn't do anything that day. I guess you didn't hear me when I said they sent a CI to knock on the door and lure him out of that building.
Yeah, and then they waited for hours for him to actually come out, and he didn't know, well, he didn't have any reason to think that anyone would be standing out there waiting for him.
Yes, the one that started shooting first was the one in the back of the complex in the car waiting. The other three must have been up at the top where they had the boy come to get him to lure him out of the complex. They must have been waiting for him up at the complex because there's witness statements. I just don't want to reveal the videos that the witnesses allowed me to take of them while they pointed and said, this is what happened and this is the direction. The newspaper was saying it wrong. He didn't come from the left. He came from the right. Wasn't across 355. That was a lie too. He was right here on the complex. As soon as he walked out the complex, he come walking back fast and seen 3 men behind him. No one ever hear anyone yell, stop. No one ever heard them identify themselves as officers. Basically, they just, like a pack of coyotes, decided to make my son their prey that day. And then they committed a hate crime and called it policing.
Have you heard from any elected official or anybody else?
No. Oh, yes, I've heard from the Justice Department, but no elected official. I heard from yourself. I've heard from Dr. Ruby Reese Moon, the Justice Coalition, Channel 9 News, WPFW.
Well, what I mean by that, have you heard anyone, usually you hear
They
something
reached out
of
to
our
parents.
thoughts and prayers are with you. We're sorry for your loss.
I know exactly what you were saying. You didn't hear me when I said no.
Wow.
No, I have
we're
not
really
heard from
sorry for your
any
loss.
elected official, not a council person, not a senator, not the mayor, not the chief of police. And that's why I believe the chief of police should be terminated. And I think I'm going to elect to send information over to the Attorney General in reference to this case. And when I went to the House of Assembly to make my testimony 4 weeks ago in reference to Bill 670, police reform, and spoke with that gentleman, and he calls my son Kwamina, and I had to let him know it was Kwamina. And at the end, he asked me a question. If they changed the law, would that make me happy? And I had 2 attorneys texting me. I did not have to answer that question, but I did. I said, nothing would make me happy because it wouldn't bring my son back, but it may make your citizens safer.
What can we do to help you?
Yeah.
Because I know that you.
I would like help to push to have that chief of police resign and those 4 officers charged with murder and a host of other crimes that was committed against my child.
All right, so let's take it one at a time. So like I said, we have a bunch of police forces in Montgomery County. So you are seeking the resignation of the Gaithersburg City Police Chief?
Correct.
Okay.
The one that made contradictory interviews on TV, I've seen 3. And if anyone paid attention, they would see that they contradict themselves. And early on, there was a news reporter working with me, and she said she wants to keep up with this story because the police keep changing their stories. So that's just an indication or proof that they're lying, because if they wasn't, the story would be consistent. And then how is it that night, Detective Paula Hamill, that it's nothing to do with, she has nothing to do with the Gaithersburg City Police Department, that precinct, tell me that the officers knew of him. That's why I didn't have to come to town to identify him. And their chief say unidentified man.
Wow.
Is there an independent investigation being?
No, I would like to have one. At very early, I told my attorney that I did not want it to go from Montgomery County to the neighboring county of Howard County, because they generally don't prosecute the police officers in their shootings.
Well, I think that there is an opportunity to hit some grassroots organizations, especially the American Civil Liberties, and the issue more to the forefront, such that, you know, it's becoming a similar Ahmaud Arbery story, where you have inconsistent statements from people who are to be trustworthy. So we've got to illuminate that point, and identify and share those inconsistencies, so that people can, and especially continue to mention that this is a situation from which back.
Is
May
there?
I speak? May I speak, please?
Oh, please go ahead, Ms. Morris.
Yeah, this is Reverend Marguerite Morris. Ma'am, I'm sorry, I didn't get the beginning of your story, but I do offer you my condolences. I'm one of those individuals that's impacted by issues with police for years and trying to gather information. So I would ask that, and I know you may have answered this already, as to what have you done in reference to documenting the information? And I also want to encourage you, because if this is recent, you do have a journey ahead of you in reference to getting these things to happen, because as one mom to another with a deceased child, this is a journey that you will have to press primarily on your own. And I'm just saying that sounds daunting, but that's factual. And we know that your child is the wind beneath your wings to keep you pressing for answers. So my question is this: what have you done to date in reference to gathering the documentation, FOIA, public information requests? What are you doing to document this journey? And when did this happen, may I ask?
It happened January 8th. I'm sorry, I got to town January 9th. It happened January 8th. And I've been keeping my information on a docu file, as well as I have my nieces, and I have Justice Coalition, and I have WPFW. Have a few allies, Dr. Reverend Reese Moon, and my attorney, and then a few other attorneys. And I never walk alone because I walk with God. And God sends people to me, and He opens doors, and He continues to open doors. And not only do He open doors, He moves mountains.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
you both,
And
sorry, Reverend Morris.
no, I'm gonna digress. I just want to again encourage you. This is a journey, and it's a difficult journey. And if you'd like to take my information and maybe talk to me offline, but you've been given good information. Number one, you have the legal system working with you. Number two, as Judge Claudia recommended, reaching out to individuals like the ACLU, and you may have done these things already, but it is absolutely going to depend on the documentation and your determination. And again, I see your pain. I see you struggling, but I know you're going to do what a mom has to do.
Yes,
God bless you.
Yes, ma'am. And I would love to obtain your information. Not only do I keep things in the computer, I write dates, names, conversations, everyone I speak with, when and what the conversation is. And my ally seems to be growing. As you just spoke up, I would like to obtain your information, please, and thank you.
And also, you have had some rally. Well, I'm sorry, you had a rally, and you have an event that's coming up.
Yes. We have, I asked them early on that I wanted to have a memorial for Kwame a few months from now, which was January when I stated that. So now we're going into May. It will be May the 15th at 1 p.m. And it will be it's been named as Kwame Community Day, in which I will be reaching out to the community with care packages for adults, care packages for the children, know your rights training. Instructors will be there. There will be speakers, Dr. Ruby Reese Moon, Reverend Adebayo, a Muslim speaker. There will be poetry, there will be performers. It's going to be a whole event for the community, so that I'm trying to change the narrative of what the police officers perpetrated my child to be. My son was born a prince, and as I stated to them, he died as a king. He's actually supposed to be going back to Ghana soon. His father passed 3 months prior to his murder, and his grandmother passed that Monday, and he was murdered that Friday. Anyway, Kwame had a giving heart and a good giving spirit. So I just want to give back to the community, because not only was myself and my family impacted, the community was impacted, because there was witnesses out there, even children were out there. So, and then also those officers had been harassing that community and the witnesses and terrorizing them, to the point that there is a editor that had been calling me since, let's see, January 13th. And she was doing his story, and she actually, in the 24th, because she went back to the complex to gather more information, and stated she wanted to speak with me on the record and off the record. On the record, she was telling me what she spoke about with the witnesses, and she was in the middle of a conversation, and this one is off the record, when the people that she was speaking with actually looked behind her and saw a vehicle following her, and they ran off. And she said when she first got into the complex, she noticed that that vehicle had been following her from the beginning to the end. And at one point, the driver pretended to be playing music, listening to music. She says, well, don't be offended. I had a big black man with me but I feared for my life because I noticed everywhere I was, he was there.
Miss Cooper, I know you have to go. I know Marylin had said that you only have to go somewhere at 6:30, correct?
Yes.
I know you have I as sad as this is, I know you have a financial burden to with your son and travel.
They killed him over a tip. GoFundMe. Hashtag Justice for Kwamina is all his social media handle. Hashtag Justice for Kwamina or hashtag Justice for Kwamina Akron. And his GoFundMe would be they killed him because of a tip. They killed him because of a tip.
And also before you go, and I know Reverend Mars, if you could just send her off with prayer, that would be a blessing. If you so want to, please. You're on mute. There you
I'm
go.
here. Yes, thank you. I'm sorry. I'm on my cell phone. Of course. Father God, we ask you right now that you strengthen this mother, Lord, as her journey has just begun. But God, continue to provide for her all that she have need of. Continue to encourage her, continue to hold her up, continue to put before her, Lord God, those things that she have need of in miraculous ways. Continue to provide her and bring those around her to encourage her and give her victory in this journey. It's in your precious name, God, that we do pray. And we thank God and amen.
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 Thank you. And how would I obtain your information, Reverend Morris?
I'll give you my number and then you can text me after this if that's okay. Is that okay?
Yes, that would be wonderful.
Since this is Reverend Morris,
recommend
would you like to contact me instead because you're on the email list? So you could give it to me and I could give it to Miss Cooper.
That'll be fine. We'll do that.
Yeah,
Thank
because
you.
that way not the whole world gets your phone number.
Right.
Unless you
I
want
don't know
it,
because they might want to call me and give me a lot of money. I don't want them to do
yeah,
that.
that could happen too. So please go to the GoFundMe page and give Reverend Morris some money, give Miss Cooper some money because we could all use it.
Amen. But yes, that'll be fine. Thank you very much.
Okay.
I will be in touch with you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Miss Cooper. Just one more thing. The date for the celebration of Kwamena's life was changed, and because it was supposed to be April 24th, but it's been changed.
Yes, because of the weather.
So now it's May 15th from 1 to 5 in Gaithersburg. I will send out notices to the people who are in this email list and try to keep people updated. That way, as many people could participate as possible. Susan is here. I don't know if Susan wants to say something because she's from the Silver Spring Justice Coalition and they are one of the groups helping with the celebration of Kwamena's life as well.
Is Susan the one that did the interview with Sarah?
Yes.
Okay, I hadn't met her before.
Hi, Mrs. Cooper. This is Susan. Just want to offer my condolences for your loss and my support. The Silver Spring Justice Coalition continues to support the effort to get justice for Kwamina.
Thank you, Susan. Will you be present?
Yes, and I at the celebration of his life, I will be there. And I look forward to meeting you in person.
Thank you. And I was requesting that each organization wear a shirt or something with their logo on it.
Oh, okay. I had with the logo of the organization.
Yes.
Oh. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's a good idea because it could show people how much support there is for what has happened and how we want to broadcast into the community that we don't want these kinds of things to continue to happen. And it will also play really, really well in terms of the colors and put it out there. I think you also talked about lanterns.
yes, I would like to try to have lanterns to go up for him with a prayer instead of balloons. Balloons have more pollution than lanterns are different.
Hmm.
They don't hurt the environment as much as the balloons going up in the air and getting in the way of the pilots.
Yeah, so the GoFundMe would, well, the money from the GoFundMe and other donations would be helpful in paying for your travel because you don't live in the community, and also to pay for pay for the lanterns and oh gosh.
Some of the
Oh,
expenses for Kwame event and whatever reason I need to come back to Maryland, anything and everything pertaining to Kwame.
yes. So we ask people to be as generous as they possibly can. We know it's a difficult time for a lot of people, but anything that you could give would be very helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cooper. And we're really sorry for your loss.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, and thanks for the support for all of you.
You're welcome. God bless you. And if there's anything we could do, please reach out.
I will. Thank you.
Thank
Have
you.
a good evening.
Have a good evening. Bye.
You know, this is such a sad issue that we have to have these shows to inform people about the things that's going on, things that has happened, the injustice that's going on, the frequency that it's happening, and yet there's still a real personal issue to this. There's financial, there's emotions, like Reverend Morris was talking about. There is still, even after whatever goes, there's still a long journey that we must support each other as a community to say, oh yeah, that lady I heard once before 8 months ago, I wonder how she's doing. We can't forget these names and these people. They're lives. They're our lives. They're our community's lives.
Yes, and I know that, we have someone here who has been extremely patient, and we really appreciate it. Ms. Oludipe, if you could tell us your story as well and what happened to your son.
Well, thank you. Well, it's the same old story. I was out of the country, like I said earlier, when Kwame was killed. My son, 26 years old, Emmanuel Kutuga, was also killed by Montgomery County Police Officer Christopher Jordan. Although it's been like 10 years past February 19, but you never get over it.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like yesterday. I go to my grave with this pain. It's the worst pain ever that a mother can ever go through. He was 3 months shy from graduating from Bowie State University, and he went to City Place Mall. There was an argument with the security officer. Officer Christopher Jordan was on the other side of Colesville writing a minor collision report. He left what he was doing because they were arguing and cussing and fussing at each other. And he said he told him to stop like 30 times in 30 seconds. But Emmanuel was trying to, explain that I haven't done anything. I just didn't know that was our employees only. Okay, I'm leaving. And he said, don't move. If you move, I'm gonna blow your brains out. And Emmanuel didn't think anything of it, still trying to explain himself. He think he can talk himself out of this. And portion of this crime was captured on a video. That's what I'm trying to, we went through all this process, ACLU, we went to the White House, we started Black Lives Matter, we started 21st century on policing and everything with President Obama. And Chief Ramsey, the police commissioner of Philadelphia, former chief of police, DC. We went through all that, my attorney presented them with the video. And when, when it was time to go for, they didn't even charge Officer Jordan. The state attorney says somebody in the state attorney's office mistakenly deleted that video. That was why I said, that young lady did a fantastic job with the verdict yesterday, but that was the divine intervention. I really believe George Floyd's brother, that he was praying so hard, and he went to the mother's grave and prayed. I think, because how many people have a video? We had video, somebody mistakenly deleted it. What's the name of that guy that was running, didn't want to pay child support? That was shot 4 times in the back. There was a secret video. But, with all that evidence, still.
In South Carolina?
Yes. Walter Scott.
Michael Slater killed Walter
Yes.
Scott.
What kind of a threat does a man running away from you pose to you as a police officer, that you have to shoot that man in the back 4 times? There was a video, but nobody was charged. In my son's case, there was a video, and then the state, but unfortunately for us, there was their video, because the video belongs to that liquor store right by the city place. So it was their video, and we asked them, can we make a copy of this video? They said, oh, no, you don't have to do that. That's our property. We're gonna, present it to the judge when you go to court. And we never think anything of it. But when the time comes, oops, somebody mistakenly deleted your video, unless you have another evidence. They throw the case out of court. So many like that. Unless, there's a divine intervention, they're just getting away with murder. But, we are all encouraged about yesterday's verdict. Guilty, guilty, guilty. But that was just, a drop in a pocket. But, except the Lord builds the house. So we just have to pray. Because my son didn't, 3 months before graduation, he's been struggling, and he didn't kill nobody, he didn't steal anything. And then they moved this police officer from Silver Spring to Rockville. The same officer had the same encounter, but luckily the lady didn't die. He said he stopped her after a minor collision, just in my son's case. And then instead of Miss Holly, instead of her to, to take the ticket, that she just speed up with the officer on top of the vehicle. And they charged the female with attempted murder, assault on police officer. How come they move you from Silver Spring to Rockville? As long as there are Black people in Rockville, the same officer, you should keep a low profile. That's why I'm praying for this George Floyd's, that Congress should do something. That if you commit, if you kill a Black man or a Black woman in one jurisdiction, you don't transfer to another jurisdiction and, get a job. So like Miss Cook, I understand their pain, but if they fire that chief of police from Gettysburg, he can come to Silver Spring or Rockville or any other jurisdiction or Howard and still get a job. And I mean, so it's deep.
Again, Miss Comfort. Like I said before we got on air, this is again. I'm sorry for your loss. This is a pain that that'll never happen. And as far as the police officer not being charged, what was the surrounding issue? Why they say they shot your son? What did they say? What did they tell you?
What they said was that he went to City Place Mall and a fight broke up with him and the security officer. He was trying to access employees only. And, you know, the security officer chasing it, you know, I mean, the whole, we put it on, we made a documentary. If you go to justiceforemmanuel.com, you will hear my attorney, an officer of the court. You will see the picture of my son at testimonials, because all the, all the program that we had with the Black Lives Matter that we started before Trayvon Martins, before Water Scott, before Tamara Rice, you know, that we put a vigorous fight. But what they're saying is that, you know, because we're vendors, he, you know, he was coming from work. So we did the documentary. And then after they killed him, they went inside his backpack, you know, and they said they find an ice pick. But from the video, when we asked them, okay, from this video, you said you find this ice pick in his hands. This is the instrument we use at work. We are, you know, we have a vending truck right there by the White House, and we serve, you know, sausage and steak and cheese and all this stuff. He was coming from work, going home, and he said he didn't know that was. We knew they went inside his backpack after they had shot him, because I mean that's where they get his Bowie State University ID. And you know the ID doesn't have the home address, just the student identification number. So they called Bowie State, and then the Bowie State gave them the address, and they came knocking. Sorry for your loss. I said, no, it can't be my son. You know, I mean,
Marylin and Claudia, Judge Barber, can she bring a case? Is there a way that she could bring something this many years later? Is there a statutory issue with this?
My response when somebody asks, can we bring a case, is always yes. But you know, but do you want to bring a case? And should you bring a case? Would you be successful if the case is brought? That I think that's a better question. So the answer is yes, she can bring a case. And Oludupe, you had a lawyer.
Oh yeah,
that with
that's
your
why
lawyer?
I said go to www.justiceforemmanuel.com, and you will hear the attorney. If you hit on the homepage, I mean, ACLU, everybody. I mean, he was the only one who saw the video, because in my culture, I'm a Yoruba from western part of Nigeria. He invited me to come and view the last minute of my child's life. I said, in my culture, I'm supposed to know the beginning, not the end. And he assured me, he even said it on that video. I put his video on that website. We made a documentary. And if you hit on the testimonials, you will see the picture of Emmanuel. His last Mother's Day on earth, he was, you know, he made a video for me as if he knew he was going to die. And, you know, you can go and watch it. The video is there. I posted it, and all the rallies, the one we did for, Mr. White, everything, I posted it on the website, and President Obama had me to go and testify, on 21. They didn't do anything. They just throw everything. Although they told me that there is no status of limitation for murder, that I can bring it back anytime I want, but with a new evidence, because somebody already deleted the video that we gave them. Unless I have a new video, which I don't, that's, it's going to be difficult. Because, this is the first time I've been living here for over 40 years. I never hear a white police officer. You could see, you can tell from his, pomposity and his arrogance, like he was having a picnic. He never thought he would be, convicted. Even up until the last minute, never show any emotion. So I was holding my breath yesterday, but I was happy. I was happy for George Floyd's family, for the little girl, the 6-year-old. But, that is just one in thousands of us. Because, yeah.
I'm so sorry. I keep looking for the webpage. I can't find it. I did find a Facebook page. Do you want me to put the Facebook page in the chat?
There's justiceforemmanuel.com.
Okay, well, you could put it in the chat then, if that's okay. So that way, if people are interested in looking at it, they could then look at it.
The whole story is there because, this is an officer of the court that said, I saw the tape and I invited the mother to come and watch it. But, she declined. But I saw it. The distance between Emmanuel and that police officer was like, he had his backpack in his, in his bag, and there was nothing in his hand. But, I wish, because we fight for body camera, I don't know, if they're gonna have them wear the camera. And plus, apart from divine intervention, what really helped George Floyd was that 17-year-old, that posted the video straight to Facebook. Straight to Facebook. So even if they cease, because what they used to do to us when we, take a video like that with our phone, they will take it and delete it. And then, then they will say, what else do you have? So, everything was works well for them, but that's just one. So do you know how many people they have killed since yesterday? At least 3 or 4 that I heard over the TV.
Oh, okay, great. Yes,
Can
Susan
I
put
make a
in the
quick comment?
website for your son's page. So that's very helpful.
JusticeForEmmanuel.com.
Thank you, Susan. Yeah.
Doris.
Sorry, Miss Olu DePay, for your loss. We're really sorry for your loss. Unfortunately, we have one more thing to talk about. Susan wants to talk a little bit about what happened in Tacoma Park about 2 weeks ago?
It was, yes, it was about 2 weeks ago. 2 men were murdered in Tacoma Park. James Johnson and Dominique Williams. There was another man who was with them, who survived. And there's in the Washington Post, there was an interview with the person who survived and the trauma he experienced.
As far as the
murderer
podcast is concerned, I want to thank everyone for joining us here.
Police,
but we
he
will
was like a
continue on,
police
and we'll see
officer
you
at the
next week.
Pentagon, and he lived in Tacoma Park. And he confronted these men and shot them as they were driving away. shot into the car. And then they went to the hospital, but by the time they got there, the two who were shot were dead. And the man who shot them was charged with I believe he was charged with second-degree murder. The way the Tacoma police handled it, they didn't initially charge him. They initially
As you can
described
see, we
the
have
men
more
who
to
were
talk
killed
about,
as
but that's been the
suspects.
show. So you can catch the rest of the show on my YouTube channel.
And
So
I
thank you for joining me
believe they have
backstage
yet
live.
they changed their language after they were called out for it. But I believe they've yet to apologize for initially describing the victims as suspects. There is also came to light that this same killer had drawn his gun on a woman in the place where he lived a year ago, and was not, and there was security camera video of it, and it was not investigated. He was not charged. That would be considered assault, and he was not charged. It wasn't investigated at all. And then there was also, I think, another incident even before then, maybe, I don't know, I think they're still looking into what exactly happened. So he has a history of, you know, this, I mean, there were warning signs and it was ignored. So I think the Tacoma Park Police have some things to answer for. And there was a vigil last week for the victims in Washington, D.C. And unfortunately, I wasn't there. Some people from the Silver Spring Justice Coalition were there. It was led by Carlene from the ACLU, and is, you know, there was just a lot of outpouring of, there's a lot of, you know, anger at this was a police officer. Yeah, I know we're running out of time, so I'm gonna leave it there, but it's not the end of the story.
So much, Susan. Reverend Morris had her hand up.
I have a question, but it's not pertaining to exactly what was just said. So is it okay to ask the question, it's a general question about police?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And also to the mom that just spoke before, my condolences to her as well. And I want to also say that this thing about the deleting of footage, I think Judge Claudia may remember with my case of my daughter, the video footage was deleted, and for 5 years they would say it was missing for other reasons. So just my condolences to this thing that we're still living. So my question is this: I have a case pending. I have a case in the Special Court of Appeals, and it is actually charging police officers with misconduct in the handling of my daughter's death investigation. So what I was curious about before this call started was, I think I stand a good chance on that being turned back to the court, because it was dismissed on a technicality that I believe that I'll be able to overcome. But what I'm curious about is, am I going to see some other kind of hindrance in reference to that case, because it is actually suing police officers for misconduct? I don't know if anybody is, in other words, is my case just something that's going to be dismissed because they cannot be charged ever for something like that? Or will I actually, you know, have to just fight it out in court? Is that making sense?
Judge Barber, do you want to start?
Well, if your case is currently before the Court of Special Appeals, which is the intermediary level of appellate jurisdiction in Maryland, you may very well get a 3-judge panel. What you have to be aware of is the fact that 3-judge panels on the Court of Special Appeals They often are assigned, and the chief judge may have some role in which 3 judges it will be on that court that hears your case. So judges, however, are people who live and move about in this world just like we do, in the sense that they read newspapers, they have their own ideologies. So a lot of times when you're dealing with litigation, be it at the trial level or the appellate level, you have to be mindful of the fact that litigation in and of itself, be it at the trial or appellate level, may be based on factors that you have no control over. You don't have any control over which 3 judges you might get. And
let me clarify a little bit. I thank you very much for that. It's not the appealing court. I'm saying, I overcome that. This is my question. And it gets turned back. The judges that you just described, they say, okay, it's going to get sent back to the lower court for trial. What I'm trying to figure out is there some other, you know how they have that immunity thing? Is there something else that's going to preclude that case from going forward in reference to charging police themselves with misconduct? That's what I'm trying to narrow down into. Is there something I've missed? In other words, has all this been for naught because they can't face charges anyway?
That's where it's difficult to answer questions without really looking deeply into the case itself, the pleadings and what was pled, etc. Because yours sounds like a civil suit more so than it does anything beyond civil. Typically, when it's at the criminal level, it's the state going and making the charges against police officers in a criminal manner. So you wouldn't have a say in that, but to the extent that it's a civil case, the appellate courts have options to remand a case, reverse, vacate a decision, dismiss the appeal. All of those options are there for appellate judges to decide when they rule. Sometimes they remand and ask you to make a decision not inconsistent with how they decided a case. So all of those options are out there.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well,
thank you very much.
I'd like to say thank you, everyone, for coming on You Be the Judge, and thank all my co-hosts and Judge Claudia Barber and Marylin Pierre, attorney at law. And I'm your host, Dr. Paul Dyer. We will be here every Wednesday, so please join again next Wednesday so we can talk more about this issue. Oh, Michael, I think what's your question? You're on mute, Mike.
Yeah, I couldn't. I've been up on my farm. I couldn't stand to see my vegetables and fruit die tonight, so came down. I don't know if you remember, about a month ago, a advocate for a person who was jailed when he was 19 and has been in 30 years. Anybody remember that? And not had a hearing. So I've just been working away, realizing how difficult it is to try and get a presence known if you're in prison. And thank goodness he has these advocates. So I did succeed on getting him on next Tuesday for a half hour on David Rabin's show on PFW and the equivalent station in Baltimore. So this, at least I'll create an awareness of this in Baltimore and maybe speed up the potential of his getting a parole hearing again. And I did get Will Smith. I talked to Will again today, who's my senator and is the chair of the Judicial Committee, to I believe speak with them today. And his assistant Luke has been in contact with them. But I'm startled by the indifference that people feel. I just don't, maybe my outrage is inappropriate, but I've had people call and say, oh, I I didn't have time to call him, or you don't know how many people are in this situation, and really not do anything. And
My,
I'm
my,
outraged.
you
I'm
know,
outraged by that.
you know what,
I don't.
Mike? I don't think your outrage is not warranted because I'm very saddened, if not, I don't want to use the word angry because I do, but I am angry about the apathetic of people not wanting to do, because if it's not the people that are wounded, they're going to do. It's not the families of the wounded. They're going to do something. It's the people that it seems like it never affects, do absolutely nothing, which is why it still continues to happen day to day. It's not the people that are being killed who are outraged. It's the people who'll never be touched by this. That bothers me. And they're very prominent about, yeah, it happens. No, it shouldn't happen. And they go on with their lives doing what they do. That does bother me. So, Michael, I agree with your outrage.
Anyway, if you want to uh, hear his story and hopefully create awareness in Baltimore, because that's where he needs the help getting a parole hearing. David Rabin has a program on PFW next Tuesday. So I don't know what the station is in Baltimore, but here's WPFW. So I could get you the information, Marylin. He's got a full half hour they're giving to him. I suggested maybe people call in to after they've heard his story to understand that he's one of many sitting and rotting away in jail for a crime most likely he did not commit. And when there's new evidence, they don't care to list it as a priority, getting this poor man a hearing based on new evidence.
Is it possible to get him on Wednesday with us here?
He's been on this program. Joshua's been on this program. That's how I got angry and excited. He's the one. Marylin, I could give you the information on this next Tuesday, but that's how I found out about him. His advocate, not his lawyer, his advocate.
Oh, Joshua Hatch.
Yeah, Joshua.
Okay.
He's the one I've been talking with.
Okay, I will see if. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Before we close, it just makes us cry and shake our heads, and yet we still must do, right?
Right.
We still must do. Thank you all for doing all what you do in your spaces that you do it in, and keep doing it and keep doing it, because as soon as you stop, I think people who do nothing kill more people than the people who are actually pulling the trigger. That's them. That's how I feel about that. So, thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, Dr. Dyer. It's a pleasure. And yes, if Mike gives me the information about the radio program, we would love to post that and to put that in an email and send it to everyone. And of course, invite him to our show as well. We'd love to have him. Thank you, Mike, for all your hard work.
He's been on. Joshua's been on this program. That's why I found out about the person he's advocating for.
Right, freedom.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood. I thought you were getting the person he was advocating for on the show. Oh, okay, well, that's fine. We'd love to have Joshua back as well.
Okay.
We could get an update and see if there's anything else we could do to help. Molly, we